The unprecedented increase in crime and the sporadic use of locally made explosives in the nation's capital, Yaounde, calls for tightened security and a synergy between forces of law and order and the population. Over 1,350 billion CFA francs sourced for the funding of 11 integrative priority projects of the CEMAC sub-region. The agreements finalized in Paris, France on the 7:30 news tonight. Good evening and thanks for joining us. Those are the headlines of the 7:30 news.
Each of us must comply with the measures that have been taken.
Welcome back. The considerable rise in crime in the city of Yaounde is preoccupying administrative authorities and have led to stringent security measures imposed on operators of leisure sports. Governor Nasir Paul Biya has tasked owners of bars and restaurants to beef up the protection and safety of their customers. How is the order implemented in the nation's capital? Cynthia Saptala finds out.
This is the threat that Yaounde now faces over 3 explosions of artificial bombs dropped in drinking establishments and other crowded areas. With the recent communique from the governor requesting managers and proprietors to beef up their security, the question posed to those in bars, restaurants and supermarkets is how does one guarantee the safety of its clientele?
I haven't heard of that communique. Here, I try to control what clients bring into the bar. Some understand, while others don't.
For example, hotspots like this along the road at the Lonkak roundabout, one of the managers affirmed that it is possible to control who comes in and with what.
Per day, we receive about 1,000 clients. We are open 24/7. So many come in. We do have security measures. Here, we check bags and big bags aren't allowed in. We have 12 security guards at night.
In supermarkets, security measures are already in place, making it possible to trace what customers bring in.
We have installed cameras everywhere in the supermarket and in the restaurant as well. And we have security men in place.
Despite the reality of the threat, some of the proprietors of these hangouts are yet to fully understand and comply.
The recent wave of locally made explosives detonated in pubs and entertainment points has prompted many a Cameroonian to be cautious about their security. While some see the device as a threat to life that must be checked by authorities, others have opted to remain alert when visiting such spots. How they ensure their personal safety and security is in this report by Constantine Baum.
The improvised explosive devices have only led to injuries, but no death has been recorded. No one knows why the incidents are carried out and who is the target. Some inhabitants for now avoid relaxation spots and large gathering areas as much as possible, as these appear to be targeted.
Right now, we can only remain vigilant. We know that the public authorities, they have called for more vigilance. They have also instructed a lot of public places to stop people from coming in with bags.
Some have tended to be more aware of their surroundings with a call for owners of such public places to step up security.
They can try to employ people at the gates or at the doors to check those who are entering, to check their bags.
Some are still to believe that improvised explosive devices blew up in Yaounde.
I've heard of it, but I've not seen it physically. I'm not convinced.
But he still believes that everyone has to be cautious.
You just have to be careful. As a good citizen, you have to be careful about your security.
The best action to take if you notice any suspicious or unattended package or bag Immediately leave the area and encourage others to do so, and locate the nearest authority to report the item. It is advisable not to use your cell phone while near any suspicious item.
Curbing crime in the community requires the professionalism of forces of law and order, but also the collaboration of the population. The denouncing of persons with suspicious and dubious character has oftentimes led to the dismantling of armed groups and other villains. Joyce Kembe-Fuaju now reports on the necessity for such a synergy to check criminality.
Collaboration from the population as informants or denunciators of suspicious individuals' official moves in their neighborhood to law enforcement officers are imperative to contain the increasing insecurity and terrorist threats that is challenging Yaoundé. Security officials can't face it alone. Ongba Henry, a third-class chief in the Emana neighborhood in Yaoundé, says he works with his vigilante boys, but is faced with the problem of incentives to motivate them. Others understand the importance of collaborating with defense forces, but fear betrayal.
I think the government should even take this as a project. They should go around, train young boys in neighborhoods, because all the neighborhoods, they know everybody in every neighborhood. They know who is coming out, who is going in. They know who does what and who does whatever.
The collaboration is good, but we are afraid of the betrayers. That's our fear.
However, collaboration has proven positive in the fight against Boko Haram in the far north region, and vigilante groups in Dongan Mantung division in the northwest region has maintained peace despite the ongoing socio-political crisis in the region. Hence, if Yaoundé city dwellers must enjoy security and safety, they must collaborate and report any suspicious individuals to law enforcement officials, especially at this time.
Still in security news, newly appointed officials of the International School for Security Forces, IFOS, have taken the engagement to use their expertise to promote peace and security on the African continent. This was during an installation ceremony presided over by the Director General of the Security School, Brigadier General Andre Patrice Bitote. Elvis Teke was there, now reports for the 7:30 News.
A brief but solemn ceremony at the institution today referred to as the United Nations Excellence Center for Peace Support Training, a prestigious position that the International School for Security Forces looks forward to uphold.
It's more responsibility. I hope that I will be able to achieve this responsibility.
The Director General of IFOS, Brigadier General Andre Patrice Bitote, has told newly promoted officials that they have been appointed by the President of the Republic based on their qualification and expertise on the field. The newly appointed officials have, amongst others, been told to fast-track modalities for the payment of indemnities to local populations that have been moved from the school's site. They are also expected to enhance and diversify international cooperation, especially in the domain of peace support operations, in a bid to harness peace in the Central African sub-region, Africa, and the world.
In this developing story on the economy, over 1,350 billion CFA francs has been mobilized for the financing of 11 integrative priority projects in the CEMAC sub-region. This was during the CEMAC Roundtable fundraiser in Paris, France, where over a dozen financial and technical partners, as well as investors, agreed to finance and provide human capital for the projects. Caroline Okier-Anoma has the details.
The CEMAC Roundtable fundraiser in Paris will forever be remembered for its success story. They set out for 3.4 billion euros, but they ended up with over 3.8 billion euros to finance the 11 integrative projects.
To be able to bring the line of the credit line and then the 13% capital that the bank is actually looking for.
It's a great opportunity here to contribute to the growth and the well-being of these 6 countries. And to our humble contribution, we're willing to heavily invest in the human capital and making sure that people are fully trained and acquiring the right skill to contribute to the growth.
I think this volume of financing speaks for itself to measure the implication and the level of mobilization that BIAC obtained.
From the monetary financing to human capital, All have been concretized at the Roundtable fundraiser. As a meeting with over 400 participants via video conference and in-person roundtable wraps up positively, the mind-boggling question is, when do we start with the construction?
Our investigative report tonight focuses on the scarcity of CFA franc coins on the local market that hinders the smooth transaction of business deals. In supermarkets, managers go for the issuance of receipts to customers, indicating the amount owed or simply propose an item equivalent to their balance. Ewane Pole has more.
Coins are an important aspect in the economy. Most often, the economy will reap huge dividends in using coins for small transactions. For some years now in Cameroon, the scarcity of coins, that is 1, 2, 5, 10, 25, 50, 100, and 500 francs CFA, makes transactions difficult in supermarkets.
2,100.
No, people are supposed to have coins. I don't have any coins.
At times they can give you a bond to maybe come back and get something else.
Expert in stock exchange says the situation of the scarcity of coins is a hindrance to economic growth.
That much domestic transaction impossible. The authority must seek to identify the network of perdition of small change and stop them. This is the solution.
Economic experts also add that to boost the circulation of coins as fast as possible, commercial banks that want to refinance themselves at the BIAC are required to collect much coins, which will eventually ease transactions in supermarkets.
In news from Parliament, the development of renewable energy to boost industrialization and economic growth has been emphasized by the Parliamentary Network for the Promotion of Renewable Energy. On the sidelines of the seminar presided over by Deputy Speaker Honorable Theodore Dato, the Decentralization and Local Development Network led by Honorable Berth Nanga Minang Owono held its General Assembly. Charles Ibune has the details.
One of the key pillars for Cameroon's development in the next 10 years, as established in the National Development Strategy, is renewable energy as part of the Green Economy Package. And so, the Parliamentary Network for Renewable Energies pledges to be the interface to ensure government's sustainability policies in the domain.
We very much believe that the solution to access electricity to our rural population is through the renewable energy.
Chaired by Deputy House Speaker Honorable Theodore Dato, the civil society, members of the network, and officials of the energy sector are seeking to establish the best ways to use Cameroon's natural resources.
Cameroon is seen as one of the major contributors in terms of hydraulic energy in the sector.
Ahead of the first ever regional elections in the country to materialize the decentralization process, members of the Parliamentary Network on Decentralization and Local Development also met to strategize.
We would need to make sure that whatever the Parliament puts in as a budget, which is supposed to go to the decentralized organs, that amount should go to them.
Decentralization and local development, just like renewable energies, are elements determined to take Cameroon forward for sustained development by 2035.
Still at the National Assembly, 4 cabinet ministers have defended bills before the Foreign Affairs Committee of the House, headed by Honorable Emmanuel Bagmi. Amongst the bills are a migration agreement between Cameroon and Switzerland, an air transport accord with Cameroon and the United Arab Emirates, and a multilateral convention to implement tax treaty. Charles Ibune once again.
Bill to be defended before the members of the Foreign Affairs Committee of the National Assembly today was the one to authorize the President of the Republic to ratify the multilateral convention to implement tax treaty-related measures to prevent base erosion and profit shifting.
We have a lot of taxes that we expect from everybody. And we have some multinationals, for instance, who generally have some techniques to avoid paying taxes. And And this is the aim of this convention, to help all the countries, and especially the poor countries as we are, to alleviate those practices.
The next bill was the one to authorize the President of the Republic to ratify the agreement on migration issues between Cameroon and Switzerland.
I just told them that this agreement that has been authorized by the President of the Republic was aimed at protecting our diaspora in Switzerland.
On the heels of the Minister of External Relations came his counterpart of Environment and Nature Protection to defend the bill to authorize the President of the Republic to proceed with Cameroon's accession to the Nagoya-Kuala Lumpur Supplementary Protocol on Liability.
We have a law about what do you call genetic modified organ.
The last bill of the day was defended by the Minister of Transport and has to do with an air transport agreement between Cameroon and the United Arab Emirates.
Away from the National Assembly, the new Secretary General of the National Commission for UNESCO, Dr. Abdul Aziz YAOUNDE, has been commissioned into office. He was installed by the Secretary of State at the Ministry of Basic Education and exhorted to push for the application of the development strategy on education and training. Joyce Tata reports.
46-year-old Abdulaziz YAOUNDE, indigene from the Far North region, Jamare Division, is the National Commission for UNESCO's new Secretary General. Beforehand, he has occupied several posts of responsibility in the higher education sector, with the most recent being the Vice Dean in charge of research and cooperation in the Faculty of Arts, Letters and Human Sciences at the University of Marwa, a portfolio government expects to be put to full use in his new office.
We're going to look at the 4 pillars that UNESCO is supposed to be taking care of within Cameroon. Of course, the education sector, the science sector, culture, and communication. And I think that we just have a square peg in a square hole, and we want to thank the head of state for making this choice.
Dr. Abdulaziz YAOUNDE is a holder of a PhD in History and International Studies, married and a father of 4, who now has as mandate to ensure the respect of the regulations of UNESCO's National Commission in Cameroon, especially in the field of research for a glorious future in accordance with international standards.
In health news, we zoom in on the cochlear implant, a miraculous cure to hearing loss. It is a device that bypasses damaged portions of the ear and directly stimulates the auditory nerve. The surgery for children less than 6 years is now possible in Cameroon free of charge, thanks to an association. Yoti Kalelisonge witnessed one of the operations at the General Hospital in Yaoundé. Here's her report.
A journey to a world where the auditory nerve is stimulated by this device begins now for this 5-year-old Cameroonian female undergoing surgery.
It indicated in children who has especially profound deafness. In our cases, it's a congenital profound deafness.
Making a change in the receiver's behavioral pattern imminent.
The cochlear implant can give to the children in 1 or 2 months the hearing, and it can give him the possibility to recover language and also scholarity and teaching.
It's not magical, but could be a miraculous cure.
When you have a child with deafness, we have to know if it is surgically reversible or not. So we ask to the population, if you have a child in that situation, just come and consult.
A cochlear implant surgery lasts 2 to 3 hours, while the surgically implanted device is meant to last a lifetime.
The wearing of face masks in public places will be mandatory until further notice.
Seconds to 7:50, we get our COVID-19 updates. Cameroon has been hailed for its management of the coronavirus, but health professionals warn This should not be a pretext to ease barrier measures. The caution comes at a time when gatherings in public places like churches, markets and ceremonial grounds have citizens with virtually no protection. Baldwin Sama and his guest, Dr. Eric Tandy, say these can be quite risky and increase infections. They are at the Public Health Emergency Operations Center. Hello, Baldwin.
It has been very, very disturbing what most public health experts have noticed these days, the non-respect for barrier measures in some gatherings, such as in churches or in markets. What are just some of the implications with regards to the non-respect of outlined barrier measures by Cameroonians these days in some of these gatherings? We discussed that tonight with Dr. Eric Tandy. He is a public health expert. Good evening, Doctor.
Yeah, good evening, Baldwin.
A disturbing situation noticed so far, the non-respect of most of these barrier measures with regards to some gatherings, churches, markets. What advice for the population out there?
Yeah, Baldwin, I will not only want to limit within the churches or market squares and other areas. I want to put it generally. We've noticed a general non-respect on barrier measures, but I want to call the attention of every Cameroonian that we might be misinterpreting the way COVID-19 is moving within our communities. We should be very careful. We've seen a second wave moving in Europe, and this was the experience we had some few months ago before March. So we must be careful to respect barrier measures, especially the use of face masks and respect of physical distancing, being it in a market area, being it in churches, or being it in whatever environment. The head of state showed us even an example in a funeral that just passed a few days ago, that once you are in a public milieu, please respect physical distances plus the use of face masks.
Thank you so much, Dr. Eric Tandy, for being our guest this evening. We should continue respecting these outlined barrier measures outlined by the government of Cameroon. Back to you, Esther Kima.
Thanks very much, Baldwin Sama. On to other news, the Minister of Public Service and Administrative Reform, Joseph Lay, and the German ambassador to Cameroon, Her Excellency Corina Frike, have been discussing ways to reinforce collaboration in the sphere of public administration. The intention is to see how Germany can assist Cameroon in the modernization of public administration and fight against corruption. Here's an excerpt of Her Excellency Corina Frike after the audience.
I'm convinced that administration is a very important part of good governance, and can help a lot and be a cornerstone of decentralization to make the administration more modern, also more online administration and other possibilities to get the administration nearer to the citizen, because not only the citizens depend on a modern and efficient administration, also foreign investors, for instance.
If you're a fervent fan of CRTV, know that CRTV and CRTV News are now streaming on Orange Mobile TV, a digital application that allows subscribers to watch content on their mobile phones. An agreement to this effect was signed today by CRTV's Director General, Sean Dongo, and his counterpart of Orange Cameroon, Frederick Debo. Emanuela Venue has the details.
Writing a new page in digital broadcasting where subscribers of Orange Cameroon with just a click on their mobile phones can access and watch CRTV and CRTV News programs. The Directors General of CRTV and Orange Cameroon wants to give digital transformation a push.
A definitive step in the way we can deliver to our customers the best of the TV in Cameroon, meaning the CRTV programs. So for our customer, we'll have a cheap access, because it will not be debited on the data, a very cheap access to the content of CRTV.
Streaming CRTV and CRTV News on Orange Mobile TV, a digital application that uses 3 and 4G networks, comes to fortify the 17-year cooperation between both institutions. CRTV, on her part, engages to advertise products of Orange Cameroon through her different platforms.
The CRTV is the best at territorial coverage, with about 40 broadcasting centers spread over the territory, and some of which accommodate around Cameroon's installations.
The advantage is that no data is used by any Orange subscriber to watch the Orange mobile television.
An Orange customer could have either directly access through a link or through the application My Orange.
And there are still plans for more of such collaborations between CRTV and Orange Cameroon.
We'll take you to the West Region, where, to promote the legality of unions, 14 couples in Bafoussam-2 subdivision have adhered to the concept of collective marriages initiated by the Ministry of Women's Empowerment and the Family. They officialized their marriages in Baleng under the watchful eyes of their families and friends. Go Henry Tiesamber reports.
A total of 14 couples have benefited from the initiative by the MIFI Divisional Delegate of Women's Empowerment and the Family, Mara Epie. They have legalized their unions during an event at the Langung Baleng Civil Status Registration Office.
I'm very happy. I'm telling the remaining one that they are behind that they should try and come and make their own.
The regional delegate of Women's Empowerment and the Family has congratulated the couples for the decision.
I want to show the population that marriage certificate is free of charge. It's very easy to get.
He advised people who are yet to legalize their union to do so. It was in the presence of administrative authorities of the Bafoussam-2 subdivision.
In sports, the 2020 Chantal Biya International Cycling Tour kicks off tomorrow, November 18. Ahead of the official opening, the participating delegations for the 20th edition were presented today in Douala at a ceremony presided over by Sports and Physical Education Minister, Professor Narcisse Moele-Kombi. Jules Demba has highlights from CRTV Littoral in Douala.
Everything is set for the 20th edition of the Chantal Biya International Cycling Tour. The delegations from Burkina Faso, Benin, Democratic Republic of Congo, Slovakia and Rwanda have all arrived, the nation's economic capital, Douala. The presentation ceremony of those to take part in the cycling competition took place this afternoon in Douala in the presence of Cameroon's Sports and Physical Education boss, Professor Narcisse Moele-Kombi. Both athletes and officials expressed satisfaction and happiness to be part of this year's Chantal Biya International Cycling Tour. Cameroon will be represented by two teams, the National Cycling Team and the SNH Velo Club. 3 delegations are, however, still expected in Douala: Côte d'Ivoire, Senegal and Mali. The awaited 20th edition of the Chantal Biya International Cycling Tour will take place from the 18th to the 22nd of November 2020.
And that will be all for this edition of the 7:30 News, in which you heard that the unprecedented increase in crime and the sporadic use of locally made explosives in the nation's capital, Yaoundé, has called for tightened security and a synergy between forces of law and order and the population. At 8:30 p.m., you'll be in the company of Alain Bala for the news in the French language, and that will be followed by News Inside Out, presented by Ben Menopufong. I'll be back tomorrow at 7:30 p.m. God willing. Thanks for watching the news, and stay tuned to our programs on CRTV and CRTV News. Bye-bye.
In this connection, we should avoid stigmatizing.
CRTV News, ici, toute l'info.